One of the major concerns for the Knicks headed into next season is what they're going to do at the center position. They obviously have Mitchell Robinson there. He's their starting center right now. But if you look at his injury history, it gets you very concerned. But according to one NBA insider, it seems that the Knicks have a plan to address that situation. And that plan involves Julius Randle and OG Anunoby. We're going to break down these latest reports and so much more today. If you're not already subscribed to the channel, go ahead and hit that subscribe button now. And make sure you have notifications turned on so you don't miss a second of the new content. And now, let's get started. The Knicks could play OG Anunoby and Julius Randle at the 5 spot next season. Now, we already knew the Knicks had concerns at the center position headed into this season. We knew that because all offseason long, they have been trying to look for a center that could start or could come off the bench and back up Mitchell Robinson. The unfortunate part was the Knicks couldn't really find anybody. They had to settle on Precious Achiuwa. And if you look at Achiuwa's contract, he waived his no-trade clause. He's on a 1-year deal worth $6 million. The Knicks are obviously trying to utilize Achiuwa and some other picks and players to use them at the trade deadline to get more assets to potentially back up Mitchell Robinson moving forward into the season. But at this point in time, if Mitchell Robinson goes down, his backup is likely going to be Precious Achiuwa. And the Knicks are not going to be able to move forward in the way that they want with Achiuwa starting. The Knicks know this, and because of that, they have a plan in place. Let's break down these latest reports from NBA insider Fred Katz with The Athletic. According to Fred Katz, he states, Tom Thibodeau hinted throughout the year that he wanted to try Anunoby at the 5 spot, but preferred to get the 27-year-old, who the team traded for midseason, acquainted to first. Anunoby played in only 14 games before hurting his elbow, eventually undergoing surgery. He returned a month and a half later, then injured the elbow again and had a hamstring injury afterward. This is pretty shocking information here from Fred Katz. According to him, if Anunoby had stayed healthy enough, maybe Tom Thibodeau would have put him at the 5 spot. Not to start there, but maybe in some stretches. And honestly, if you're asking me, I do not mind having Anunoby play the 5, only if it means playing him at the 5 during some stretches. I'm not comfortable starting him at the 5, but if you want to play him 5 minutes, 7 minutes at the 5, and see potentially what him and Julius Randle could do, Randle being at the 4 and Anunoby at the 5. And remember, Anunoby can guard 1 through 5. I would not mind it for a couple of minutes just to see how it looks, because honestly, I think it would look very good. And hearing from Fred Katz that Tom Thibodeau, of all people, potentially would have experimented with it, that is music to my ears, because potentially that may mean we could see it headed into next season. But let's continue with these reports here. Katz continues here by stating, it's possible Randle receives more time at the center position this upcoming season than he has since joining the Knicks in 2019. And that's because he may not actually be playing center. The holdup in years past was the lack of rim protection that came with Randle at the 5. This season's Knicks don't have conventional rim protection beyond Mitchell Robinson. But do you know when rim protection becomes less important? When you don't allow anyone to get to the rim at all. The Knicks employ possibly the league's best defensive wing combination in Anunoby and Bridges. Drivers can't power past either without a fight. And there is one other large difference from the Toppin days. This time, Randle would play center only nominally. Katz continues here by stating, in reality, Anunoby would guard 5s. Randle would be the power forward on defense. I just want to say, if the Knicks do that, if the Knicks employ this, if that's the direction they want to go in to help back up Mitchell Robinson at that center spot, because this is what they feel most comfortable with, I have no problem with it. If Randle is playing the 5, but really only playing the 5 when they're on offense, and then on defense, we have Anunoby really playing the 5, no problem with that at all. Anunoby can switch. Anunoby can defend. He can defend 1 through 5. I don't mind seeing this if only it means seeing it for a few minutes. Definitely do not want to see it for an entire quarter. Definitely do not want to see it starting games. But for a few minutes, you can sell me on it. And what Fred Katz is stating here, what potentially the Knicks' plans are at center here. If you don't have a player that you trust to play the position, then why not experiment and employ something that is a little bit different but could work? OG and Randle switching on offense and defense from 4 to 5? Yeah, I think I would like to see that a little bit going into next season if we don't have a player that we trust to back up Mitchell Robinson. Only time will tell, and only training camp will tell. We'll have to see what happens. But let's continue here with the rest of Fred Katz's report. On the other side, they would reverse roles. Randle could be the one setting screens for Brunson and fighting for offensive boards as Anunoby spaces to the corner. Rebounding could become an issue. Plugging Josh Hart into some of those lineups could help. But Randle at the 5, even when you view it from Thibodeau's perspective, is more practical now than ever before. And I could see it happening. Another NBA insider who could see Julius Randle playing some minutes at the backup 5 position is NBA insider Ian Begley. He answered the following question on his mailbag. The question he was asked was, what are the chances that Julius Randle will run as a power forward/center with the second unit? Would he accept that? Would that not be a dominant second unit? This is Begley's response. If the Knicks go into the season with the current roster, Randle should get some minutes as the second unit center. If I had to guess, he would accept that role. Randle would obviously space the floor well as a center. The question would be on the other end of the floor, could the second unit play adequate defense with Randle at the center? If the Knicks go into training camp/preseason with the current roster, then I assume we would see Randle at the center in some preseason games. And you know what? I could see it happening as well too. Because if you don't have what you need, what you want at the backup 5 spot, you have to experiment. You have to try different things out. You have to get creative. This, in a way, at least for the Knicks, is getting creative. And I agree with Katz here. We have never had a roster that made sense putting Randle at the 5. But now, given the fact we have OG Anunoby and we can switch between OG and Randle at the 5, depending on if we're on offense or on defense, this is something the Knicks should explore. I like hearing that because it means that Randle doesn't have to think like a center when it comes to being on defense. That was my biggest concern for him because I don't think he has the defensive capabilities as a center on defense. And that's okay. Not every player has that. But if you take that away and you substitute it with OG Anunoby, and I still get that keep that monster bully ball Randle on offense, I have no problem with this move. The only question is, will Tom Thibodeau, will he experiment this way? Will the Knicks still use their MLE to get a backup big? These are all questions the Knicks have to answer. But depending on what they do, we're going to see how the rest of the season pans out. But if they explore this scenario and have OG Anunoby and Randle switch at that center position, I like the sound of it, especially if they do it in the way Kat outlined. But what about you guys? What do you think about potentially the Knicks exploring a plan where they play Julius Randle and OG Anunoby some minutes at the center position to back up Mitchell Robinson? Let me know in the comments below, guys, because honestly, I would love to hear from you. But that's going to do it for this episode. I hope you enjoyed it. And if you did, go ahead and smash that like button, leave a comment below. And of course, guys, please subscribe to the channel. Until next time, Knicks fans. Peace.